Welcome to this explainer. It feels like practically every single week, a massive new foundation model drops. And with every single one of those releases, product managers and tech leaders everywhere experience this collective spike in anxiety, just terrified that their product roadmap has suddenly been rendered completely obsolete. Well, today we're breaking down how to actually survive this reality. We're going to explore exactly how to build enduring, defensible modes in a rapidly evolving AI landscape. A landscape where technical capabilities converge at lightning speed, sure, but where unassailable market dominance is still absolutely possible.
Let's kick things off by confronting the absolute biggest myth in AI right now, and that's this pervasive idea that capability parity just automatically equals commoditization. We're going to anchor this whole discussion on a really striking realization from a top AI product leader. They said, a company wins with mediocre models if they win the system. A company loses with excellent models if they lose the system. Honestly, that just completely reframes the entire battlefield. Winning the system means finally realizing that your distribution, your user experience, and your proprietary data pipeline matter 100 times more than having a model that scores, 2% higher on some academic benchmark test.
Now, in traditional software, we all pretty much know the defensive playbook, right? If a competitor ships a better feature, you just assign an engineering team to copy it in a sprint or two. Your primary moat mostly just comes down to high switching costs or really deep database integration. But AI competition, it is highly paradoxical. If you analyze an AI competitor just by looking at raw model capability and thinking, well, their model is smarter, so we're going to lose, you are missing the bigger picture. In the AI era, the entire interconnected system is your actual moat. Your defense has to weave together exclusive data access, a totally frictionless user experience, and deep-seated brand trust to form a barrier that raw capability alone simply cannot breach. So, here is our roadmap for today. 1. The paradox. 2. 4 competitor types. 3. 5 defense dimensions. 4. AI market dynamics. 5. Winning strategies. And finally, 6. Avoiding mistakes. All right, section 1, the paradox of converging capabilities and persistent moats. Let's dive into why analyzing AI competition like traditional software is basically a fatal error. 18 months. I want you to really think about that number. In the old days of traditional software, having a unique, deeply complex feature advantage might actually buy you a comfortable 3 years before the rest of the market caught up. But in AI, structural breakthroughs leak into the open source community in a matter of weeks. The researchers publish their methodologies. Top-tier talent bounces constantly between the major AI labs, and massive open source models just rapidly reproduce state-of-the-art capabilities. Because of this, you absolutely have to assume that capability parity is coming for you, and fast. For your product roadmap, this means planning for a maximum 18-month capability advantage. Listen, if your entire business pitch relies on your model staying strictly smarter than the competition forever, your expiration date is already written. Moving on to section 2, 4 types of competitors. We've got to properly map the battlefield by defining the distinct cast of characters you're actually up against. Because, look, not all threats are created equal, and you have to know exactly how to monitor these 4 distinct types of enemies. First up, foundation models, like OpenAI or Anthropic. They set your capability ceiling. You've got to watch them like a hawk, because if they suddenly drop their API prices by 90%, your entire cost structure and profit margin can become completely non-competitive, literally overnight. Second, we have domain-specific AI competitors. These are the super agile startups optimizing incredibly hard for your exact niche user base. Third are the giant incumbents. Think Microsoft or Salesforce. Watch their roadmaps closely. A giant incumbent can look at your shiny, hard-won AI feature, duplicate it, and bundle it out to 100 million existing enterprise users by tomorrow morning. And finally, open-source alternatives. When an open-source model hits parity with your proprietary tech, the capability floor drops to $0, and the clock is officially ticking on your business model. Okay, section 3, 5 dimensions of defense. Knowing your enemies is only half the battle, right? Let's pivot into your actual arsenal. To have a truly defensible position, you need at least 2 of these 5 dimensions constantly reinforcing each other. Capability is important, obviously, but as we just covered, it's the easiest moat to lose. Look at number 2, data advantage. Having proprietary, continuously updating data is incredibly difficult for any competitor to just scrape or replicate. Then there's number 3, distribution. This can lock up an entire market before a better model even gets a chance to get off the ground. And you simply cannot underestimate numbers 4 and 5, a seamless user experience and deep domain expertise. Think of it like this. If you only have a slightly better model, you haven't built a moat, you've built a tent in a hurricane. But if you lock in a data advantage and combine that with an unassailable distribution channel, now you've built an impenetrable fortress. Which brings us to Section 4, Navigating AI Market Dynamics. We really have to understand the unique laws of physics in AI markets, because there are threats and opportunities here that simply do not exist in traditional software. Probably the most powerful new law of physics is the data flywheel race. It operates exactly like compounding financial interest. Let's walk through a concrete example together. Imagine you build an AI transcription tool. Step 1. A customer uses your tool and manually corrects a misunderstood medical term. Boom, that correction generates a highly specific proprietary signal. Step 2. That signal feeds right back into your system, training and improving your model's grasp of that complex medical terminology. Step 3. Because your tool is noticeably better at medical transcription, it attracts more hospitals, more doctors, which generates exponentially more data. If you can get this wheel spinning early, it creates this gravitational pull that is just incredibly difficult to overcome. If you start 12 months behind a competitor's flywheel, you might honestly be permanently locked out. On the flip side of that, you must rigorously avoid what's called the foundation model trap. This happens when your entire product's value is, well, just a thin user interface wrapper placed over an underlying foundation model that you don't even control. If you are just renting your advantage, you are highly vulnerable to what the industry affectionately calls an extinction event. When that underlying foundation model releases an update with native features that mimic your app, your whole business evaporates. Plus, when the underlying model improves, every single one of your competitors improve at the exact same time. You aren't building defensibility here. You're just temporarily leasing it until the landlord decides to evict you. And while navigating all these dynamics, you've got to remember that evaluation gaming is completely rampant. It is so common to see engineering teams sweating bullets, desperately trying to optimize for a fraction of a percent gain on some standardized academic benchmark, while totally ignoring the fact that their end user is profoundly confused by their clunky interface. Having a quote-unquote better model by academic standards means absolutely nothing if it yields worse customer outcomes. Both you and your competitor can publish these incredible benchmark charts, but the actual enterprise buying decision, that comes down to real-world impact. If your AI agent helps a sales team close 20% more deals or drastically cuts down data entry time, that is what you optimize for, period. Measure the specific outcomes the customer is actually paying you to solve. Let's see how this plays out in the wild. Section 5. Real-world winning strategies. We're going to reverse engineer two massive case studies where these exact dimensions won the war. First up, we have the epic design industry battle of Figma versus Adobe. I mean, this is a classic David and Goliath scenario. Figma was this lightweight browser-based startup going up against an absolute titan. Adobe had a staggering 20-year head start and an entrenched user base of over 100 million professionals. They practically owned the entire creative industry through massive, unassailable enterprise distribution agreements. Trying to fight Adobe on raw feature capability, that would have been corporate suicide. So Figma didn't even try to win by having better vector math or more robust photo editing algorithms. They looked at Adobe's stronghold and chose a completely different battlefield. Figma built true defensibility through real-time multiplayer collaboration, an incredibly fast web-based user experience, and a massive, passionate community contributing open-source templates. This is just a brilliant example of leveraging the innovator's dilemma. Adobe couldn't just casually copy Figma's real-time collaboration because doing so would require them to fundamentally rewrite decades of deeply ingrained legacy desktop code. Figma realized they couldn't win on distribution, so they outmaneuvered Adobe entirely on UX and community. Our second case study contrasts GitHub Copilot and Tab9. These are two AI code completion tools. Just for context, as a software developer types, these tools use AI to predict and suggest the next entire line or block of code. Now, under the hood, these two products are technically very similar. You could easily argue that for a significant period of time, they were operating at complete capability parity. Yet, their market outcomes were entirely different. Copilot won this battle purely through overwhelming distribution dominance. See, Microsoft owns GitHub, and crucially, they own VS Code, which happens to be the world's most popular code editor. Microsoft simply made Copilot the default, integrated experience. When a developer opens the primary tool to start their workday, the AI is already there, just waiting to help. Tab9, on the other hand, they required a user to actively hear about it, seek it out, download a plugin, and manually configure the whole thing. For a product manager, the lesson here is crystal clear. If your AI product forces a user to change their daily habits or leave their primary software environment, you are almost always going to lose to the competitor who integrates seamlessly into the default workflow. All right, final stretch. Section 6. Avoiding common strategy mistakes. Let's rapid fire through the biggest traps product managers just keep falling into. Please carefully evaluate your own strategy against these critical errors. Number 1, do not overweight a minor accuracy advantage while completely ignoring your terrible user experience. Number 2, stop pretending your technical advantage will last for 3 years. You need to plan for parity within months. Number 3, never, ever ignore an incumbent. Don't assume Google or Microsoft is moving too slowly, because the moment they realize your feature is valuable, they'll just bundle it into Docs or Teams for free. Number 4, do not delay building your data flywheel. Actually, let me stress this. If you wait to start collecting proprietary signal, you will be permanently left behind by a competitor who started today. And number 5, don't fight a distribution war against someone who already owns the end users. Always compete where you are strong. I want to leave you with this one brutal reality check from our mastery checklist to really force you to evaluate your own product's defensibility. Look closely at those 5 dimensions again: capability, data, distribution, UX, and domain expertise. Which 2 are your actual moats? You've got to be brutally honest with yourself here, because in the next 18 months, your underlying AI models will inevitably commoditize. When that technical tide goes out, what are you going to have left? If you can't confidently name 2 reinforcing dimensions right now, you don't have a moat. You just have a temporary feature. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this framework helps you build a truly resilient, defensible future.